The minority Liberal government survived two make-or-break confidence votes this week, both related to sub-amendments to Prime Minister Mark Carney's first budget. This as the federal Conservatives lost two MPs this week, including one defection to the Liberals. Joining us now is Daniel Béland, political sociologist and director at the McGill Institute for the Study of Canada. Professor, thanks for making the time for us today.
Thanks for the invitation.
I want to start by asking what you've made of the budget itself. It's a big deficit. It has a big focus on long-term projects, maybe in a way that we haven't seen in some time. Anything that stood out to you?
Well, I think it's a budget that is quite different from the Justin Trudeau era budgets. I think there's much less focus on social programming and expanding social program. We saw during the Justin Trudeau era, major new initiatives in terms of childcare and dental care and so forth. In this budget, the focus is really on the economy and on long-term economic investment, especially capital investment. And it's also, of course, the context has changed so much since the last federal budget. Which was in the spring of 2024, and it was already a long time ago, and the world has changed a lot since then, especially because of the return of Donald Trump to the White House, among other things. And so this budget is, its content and also the way it's framed is quite different from the recent budgets from the Trudeau era.
The finance minister, along with the prime minister, they've been outselling the budget essentially to Canadians, specifically to industry members in tech, in finance. And this is at a time when Canadians remain quite worried about the cost of living, about rising unemployment, both of which we can say are related to the impact of US tariffs. And like you pointed out, the budget focuses more on these generational investments for the long term. So how effective would you say the messaging has been around the budget in addressing those concerns?
Well, I think that maybe they have overinflated the expectations. And I'm not the only one saying that. When you say this is a generational budget and transformative budget, it might have a transformative effect over time, but we don't know yet if these investments will actually make such a big difference moving forward. And also, there are a lot of things that we don't control regarding trade and the global economy, and this will also impact how this budget plays out and the measures that are central to this budget, how they will play out over the next few months and few years. Especially when you talk about investments, the so-called the returns on these investments can take a while to materialize, and sometimes they might not materialize at all. So this is an issue here, but the framing is really about showing that this is a budget that's in a context where we face a lot of challenges in terms of the economy and the trade war with the United States, and that we need to diversify our trade relations. We need to attract more foreign investment, and we need also to foster the development of the energy sector, especially the green energy. So a lot of things in that budget, but the rhetoric around it is really, I think, stressing the ambitious nature of the budget in a way that might be a bit excessive.
We have seen some of those cost of living concerns addressed, but definitely the focus has been elsewhere, at least in the weeks since, in the days since. I do want to talk to you a bit about the politics, because it's been a busy week in Parliament. The Liberals started out shy of 3 votes, but since then we've had one Conservative MP cross the floor, another say he's resigning. We're still shy of 2 votes as far as the Liberals are concerned, but they've survived 2 confidence votes with support from the Bloc and the NDP. How would you say the Liberals have fared through this week gone by?
Well, I think it's been a good week for them because of the challenges facing Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives after, especially after Chris d'Entremont crossed the floor on budget day. That is, of course, good news for the Liberals, and it's very problematic for the Conservatives, and they were, of course, very unhappy about this. Yes, 2 votes away. The question is to know who really wants to have elections right now. You look at opposition parties, there are problems within the Conservative camp. There are other MPs who are not happy with Pierre Poilievre's leadership. It might be only a limited number of MPs. It might be a dozen, a bit more, a bit less, but still, it's significant. And the NDP doesn't have a permanent leader. And I'm not sure about the Bloc, whether they would like to have elections now. But if, let's say, that the government will lose a confidence vote and will have elections, say, in December, in mid-December, or a bit later, or in early next year, then people might blame opposition parties for that. And, people are not so keen to vote again at the federal election while we went to the poll in the spring. So I think there are a lot of things here going on. But the possibility that we'll have elections soon is still there. But right now, I think that there is an attempt to avoid elections. And, there are different ways you can do that in terms of the confidence votes. You can have just some people not voting at all instead of voting against from the perspective of opposition parties. The government did not try to, necessarily explicitly bargain with other parties or get a deal like what Justin Trudeau did with Jack Mitzing during the previous parliament. So it's even if they are only 2 seats from the majority, they don't have the certainty that they had with this agreement with the NDP in the past. So it's a different world, and there is quite a bit of uncertainty moving forward. The uncertainty is not just economic, because the trade war in the United States, but it's also political.
We will have to see how that plays out. We, of course, have a week off, but I do want to ask where this week has left the Conservatives. You pointed out a few of the elements at play here. It's been a very chaotic week for them. Chris d'Entremont, who joined the Liberals this week, one thing that he said was his decision was in part because of the pessimism, is what he called it, that he's seen from Conservative leadership. How dangerous is that? How concerning is that for Pierre Poilievre?
I think it's concerning because there will be, of course, the formal leadership review in late January, but there's still quite a bit of time between now and then. And the biggest fear of the Conservatives and of Pierre Poilievre, I'm sure, is that other Liberals will cross the floor, and they have done everything they could over the last few days to basically try to keep things under control and avoid that someone else will actually do that. Instead, an MP decided to, said he will not run again, MP from Edmonton. But the question is to know, can they stop the bleeding now? If they don't, then I think it's even worse news for Pierre Poilievre and his leadership.
MPs do have that week off ahead of the final vote. So, before we let you go, I do want to ask you, what kind of conversations do you think they're having, or should they be having, within their caucus in this week and with their constituents?
Oh, yes, there will be a lot of conversations going on at different levels between political parties and within each of the parties, especially the caucuses, but even beyond that. I think that this week will be very important to gauge also the appetite that Canadians might have in terms of going back to the poll. But I think we already know that this appetite is quite limited. And I think the focus will be on finding a way to, probably for opposition parties, to get this pass. To not have elections, but at the same time not show that they are actually supporting that budget, which is a bit paradoxical. So how to avoid defeating the government on a confidence vote over a budget that you actually don't support. At least you don't want to say openly that you're supporting it publicly.
All right, Professor, we leave it there. Thank you. Appreciate your insights today.
You're most welcome. Take care.
That is Daniel Béland, James McGill Professor at McGill University's Department of Political Science.